to the virtual class. In the meantime, for those of you who have just arrived, please go to your chat box and type in your student ID as well as the student name for the purpose of attendance taking. And in the meantime also, please arrange for your video camera to be switched on when the session starts in a couple of minutes' time. I shall return and to start the session at 5 minutes past 2. Back to the virtual session for research methodology. We shall start the session now. For those of you who have just arrived, please go to your chat box to type in your name as well as your student ID for the purpose of attendance taking. Now that the session has started, please ensure that the video camera is been switched on throughout. So before we begin, let's recap what we have covered so far, including this morning. We started off yesterday evening with the understanding of what research methodology is. And the major takeaway from yesterday evening's class is the formulation of your title based on the topic that you would be interested in. This morning, we continued with how to phrase the purpose and the problem statement, which are derived from the title. So I've given you the examples of how the purpose and problem statement would look like. Following that, we have moved into what we have covered in the morning session, i.e. determining the terms of reference, your research terms of reference. Because the outcome, the final outcome, the learning outcome from this module is that you would generate a research proposal. But before you could generate a research proposal, you need to ascertain what the terms of reference are. And in order to determine your terms of reference, first of all, you need to understand what are variables. And I've shown everyone the number of variables that you should have in designing your research, in proposing your research. So altogether, there will be 5 variables, 1 dependent variable, and 4 independent variables. The one dependent variable, probably I'll just go through it now. The one dependent variable would be evident in your title. Because in your title, there could be either a specific business opportunity stated or the business performance of an organization stated. So that business opportunity or business performance would be your dependent variable. After you have established that, you need to then choose or select your factors for review, your factors for further review. And those factors could be either feasibility factors or causal factors. If you have chosen a new business topic, your review factors will be feasibility factors, while if you have chosen an existing business topic, i.e. a case study topic, your factors will be causal. And the resulting model will be y equals to fx1, x2, x3, and x4, where you can see the 5 variables. Y will become the dependent variable, and the x's will be the independent variables. And I've also provided you a list of factors to choose from. You need to select 4. What you see on your screen now would be example of factors, feasibility factors that you can select. And in the next slide, you'll be able to see very similar ones, but it will be phrased as causal factors, a list of them as well, a list of 9 of them. You select 4. And they are very similar. The only difference is that for new business topic, the factors will be stated as feasibility factors. While for an existing business topic, a case study topic, the factors will be stated as causal ones. And I've also alluded to the fact that these factors have something to do with what you have done in the various modular subjects, whether it's MM, FAM, MHCE, SM, IB, IMM. These are the various modular subjects. These are what are also known as functional areas of management. And in order to provide an integrated approach to your proposal, to your research proposal, likewise, your integrated work at the final project stage, you should have a multitude of functional factors related to different management functional areas to provide that integrated outlook, the integrated piece of work. Integrated here means a bit more wholesome, where you'll be able to look at a business issue from more than one perspective. So that will provide you the optimum scope. An optimum scope means the scope that is not too broad, the scope that is not too limited. But it's an optimum scope. So what I have provided you, the guidance that I provided you, lead you to that optimum scope of your work. After you have chosen your factors, you know now that your research model will be based on 4 relationships, i.e. 4 pairs of variables. And how are these variables paired up? As you have learned in mathematics back in school, this could be paired up in terms of XY relationships. So from your research model of Y equals a function of X1, X2, X3, and X4, how many XY relationships will you be able to derive? As you can see from the screen, there will be 4 pairs of variables. And these 4 pairs of variables will be indicative of the 4 relationships that you're going to review in your literature evidence review. From there, you will then phrase your 4 research questions based on the 4 relationships. And you will also phrase 4 research objectives based on the 4 relationships and illustrate your research model in a schematic diagram called research framework. And as you could see from the diagram on the screen right now, it summarizes, and it's very obvious and clear what your research is all about. Because from here, you could see the 4 causal or the 4 feasibility factors. So if your topic is about a new business topic, then you need to put it as feasibility factors, denoted as X1, X2, X3, and X4. Join all the boxes up and have a line across where the arrow will be pointing towards either the business performance of a specific company or a specific business opportunity as the dependent variable. And somewhere in the diagram, you will indicate the functional equation of y equals to fx1, x2, x3, and x4. So with one look, any reader, any examiner will know what your research is all about. And this will then set the stage for your detailed work, very detailed work, where your hard work begins. What do you mean by your hard work begins? What is the essence of research? The essence of research is collection of information. So you would need to start to collect information related to the business performance, related to the 4 factors that you have identified. So information need to be collected for all the 5 variables for you to start writing your literature review. So that's what would lead us now to literature evidence review. So I'm going to go there now. Let's see where my oops. All right. Okay, we're there right now. Just before the break this morning, I've given you an introductory explanation at a very basic level, i.e., what is literature evidence review? Literature here refers to business literature. And literature here means published information from credible and reliable sources. What those sources are, we'll be covering in a moment. And why do we need to search for these literature? Because from this literature, we will extract facts and figures, information. And what do we use this information for? Or as? We're going to use this information as our evidence, our proof. Proof and evidence for what? For our assertions, for our analysis, for our evaluation. Because at the end of the day, you need to state your evaluation. And whatever you say in your review, in evaluation, must be supported. Supported by what? Supported by facts and figures. In other words, it has to be evidence-based. You cannot write a research paper from what you think. All right? Let me just share with you a very isolated case, very, very isolated case in the past. It's many, many years ago. I think it's about 6-7 years ago. There was this very stubborn student, right? A very experienced manager, right? Very experienced manager, but it's a very stubborn student. He insists in writing his report based on what he knows. He said, I've been in industry for 20 over years. I know exactly what's happening in industry. I'm writing based on my experience. But whatever he wrote, there were no information or data to support. There's no citation, no referencing. When he was asked, he said, I'm the author. All right, okay, yeah, I'm citing myself. And what I present in my report are actual true facts. But how do you support that? Yes, when I read it, it is facts. It is facts that are known, in public, we know those facts. But it has to be supported. If it is not, that is why from day one, you were taught to do citation and referencing, because the examiners want to see where you get this information from. And you're using this information to support your assertions, your evaluation. It's very important. The other analogy that I normally use in class is this. Imagine there's a criminal case in court. A murdered B. B died. So B can't be telling the world who murdered him or her. So A is now charged in court. Right? Then you have the two sides of the court, the prosecution and the defense. So the prosecution will charge A for murdering B, while defense will try to deflect their charges by saying that it's not A, it could be somebody else. Can the prosecutor say that, look, it is clear that A murdered B because A and B was together in a house, let's say, for instance. Can that be just taken at that level? No, it can't. All right, because evidence needs to be made available. If no evidence is made available, then the case would not be pursued. The judge would not be convinced. So what do the evidence comes? How does the evidence comes in? The evidence come in the form of CCTV recordings. Defense may want to present an alibi, that proves that A was not with B when B was murdered, and so on and so forth. These are evidence. Now, that is a criminal case. We are not talking about, we are not doing a master in criminology. I'm using that as an analogy. So coming back to business research, so the evidence come in the form of information extracted, collected from various literature. Next is, what do you do to the evidence? What do you do to the information? You need to review them. And review if you look at the word review, the root word of the word review is view. So first you view the report, you view the information. At the same time, you gather other people's views, because information comes with views as well. But these views are not your views, other people's views, the author's views, the researcher views, the person who, the report writer views, and so on. Put the information in the framework that you have chosen, paraphrase it, explain it, and then you give your review. So who does the re? Re means do it again. So review means view it again, look at it again. View it again, look at it again. From whose perspective this time around? From your perspective. You're the author, you're the researcher. You have to have a stand. But before that, you need to understand what other people's views are, what are the information that is available. And you will then support your views with whatever information that you have gathered. And that, ladies and gentlemen, would be your literature evidence in review at the very basic level. So I hope you be very mindful of what literature evidence review is, because whatever that I have explained would be precisely what you need to achieve when you write your review. So let's get into it right now, the details of it. What's the purpose of literature evidence review? See, before that, you already established your terms of reference. In terms of what? In terms of the 5 variables, right? The dependent variable and the 4 independent variables. So the purpose of this is to review all the 5 variables, i.e. factors related to the topic of interest. So you have the dependent factor and the independent factors, where you will start searching for information for every variable that you have selected. Therefore, you're going to look out for sources of information. And the information that you have gathered from these various sources, not any sources, but reliable and credible sources, you need to cite them. That's where the citation comes in. Citation would be the brackets you have in the text where you would indicate the source and the year. Of course, the detail of that cited source would need to be presented in the list of references called references. And the protocol used by UWTSD for your MBA program would be the Harvard referencing system, which I will go through the second half of today. Now listen up very carefully. What are you supposed to do with the information? Of course, you need to present the information in a descriptive manner. Yes, you can start with descriptive manner. Describe what the information is. Cite the various views, evaluation, right, from various authors or various parties. Paraphrase them. Paraphrase them, right? You may extract something from annual report of a company, for example. Don't take word for word, because you will be caught for plagiarism. You paraphrased it. But because these are facts and figures, qualitative and quantitative information from certain source, you need to cite the source. But like I mentioned in the morning, you are doing a master's program. You're not doing a certificate in business. You're not doing a diploma in business. You're not doing bachelor's in business. You're a postgraduate student doing a degree at the master's level. And master's level is the second highest degree in any universities anywhere in the world. It's called a second degree. The highest degree is, of course, the doctorate. So at the master's level, what is very critical and would be scrutinized by the chief examiner and the external examiner would be critical evaluation, critical assessment of previous work or published information. Therefore, what the examiners want to see is at the end of your explanation or presentation of facts and figures, your critique, your evaluation, not only a statement of facts nor a descriptive summary. The key word here is not only, yeah, but you need to state the facts and figures. You need to provide a descriptive explanation of what this current situation is. But very importantly, in fact, more importantly, that you present your critique, your evaluation. And that's called critical evaluation. Now comes the crux of the matter. What is critical evaluation? Right? Some students may be confused or probably not even clear at this stage what is critical evaluation. Let's look at my second slide. Put it as critique. Because that's the exact word used by the university in indicating how the markers, the moderators, the final examiner, the chief examiner, and the external examiner would look at how they look at students' work. They want to see critique elements of critique. So I put it in a very concise manner for you to grasp what critical evaluation is all about. First and foremost, you have to select relevant theoretical or conceptual frameworks, models, or tools. When I say relevant, relevant to what? Relevant to the variable that you have chosen. For you to present your facts and figures. I'm going to give examples now. Listen up very carefully. In your assignment, when you do your literature review, all report or proposal would have an introduction chapter or introduction section. The first chapter or the first section will be introduction. What do you write under introduction? You will touch on the dependent variable. And your dependent variable is the business performance or the business opportunity. In its generic scope, I repeat, in its generic scope, is an overview analysis. From the very start of writing of your chapter, introduction chapter, the examiners want to already see the critical analysis, the adoption of analysis framework. Write this down if you need to. From the very beginning, you may want to look at, normally in presenting a business research proposal, you would present a market environmental or industry environmental analysis. You would surely have learned this in the various modules like SM, MM, and even MHC E, the E part, the entrepreneurship part. And what are the framework, analysis framework you can use? The generic one would be the SWOT framework, SWOT. And I normally would suggest to students to do the SWOT analysis in its reverse order. You will still be touching on SWOT, but in its reverse order. So what is the reverse order of SWOT? The reverse order is TOWS. By the way I presented to you, I assume that you know what TOWS is. Just in case, SWOT stands for strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats analysis. But I'm suggesting to students to do in a reverse order. Why? First of all, TOWS can be divided into two major components. First will be the T and O component, and the other one is WS component. Why? T and O stands for threats and opportunities. Where do you identify threats and opportunities? From the external environment. So we start with an external environmental analysis because that is the broader scope of your topic. And then move on to the internal factors, i.e. weaknesses and strengths of the players in the industry. But if you want to do a good job, you need to look for sub-frameworks. So if I want to do an external environmental analysis to identify threats and opportunities, I have to do it scientifically as well, in a more systematic and structured way. Remember, we're talking about methodology. Methodology means what? It means structured, systematic, and scientific. So applying further sub-frameworks will give you depth of analysis. So what could you use to identify threats and opportunities? I give two examples, two ideas to you. Use either one of these. In order to identify threats and opportunities, you could adopt either the PESTEL model or the Porter's 5-force model. These are the two most common models used to analyze or review an external environment of an industry. What does PESTEL stands for? Political, economics, social, technology, legal, and ecology. What is the 5-force model? What are the 5 forces? Intensity of rivalry, bargaining power of supplier, bargaining power of consumer, threat of substitutes, threat of new entrants. You have learned this. So you could apply either one of it. Don't apply both because you have word limitations. To generate the generic, I use the word generic, not specific, the generic threats and opportunities from the external environment. And then you move on to the second part of the introduction chapter to talk about strengths and weaknesses. Here we talk about internal environment. Internal environment refers to whom? Whose strengths and weaknesses are we talking about? We are talking about the various players, the key players, depending who are the players that we choose to review, or which players will have information, including the case study, if you have chosen the case study. That part of introduction would lead you to identify strengths and weaknesses, typical strengths and weaknesses of big players in the marketplace. Again, in S&W analysis, if you want to adopt a systematic, structured approach, a scientific approach, you look for relevant frameworks for you to identify strengths and weaknesses. And here, I suggest another two models for you. You can either use one of these two models. One is the 5Ms model, the Fishbone 5Ms model. Man, money, market, material, and machinery. Or the McKinsey 7S. Because the 5Ms elements or the 7S elements would facilitate the identification of strengths and weaknesses. Because strengths and weaknesses of companies could be determined or identified through the 7S, the McKinsey 7S, or if you wish, you could choose the Fishbone 5Ms. Work. That's what you do in the introduction chapter. So what do? You first go and look for information to fit into that framework. Information related to, say, for example, you use the 5-force model. Information related to the various competitions, the level of competition, the nature of competition, and then the consumer bargaining power, the supplier bargaining power. What about any evidence that shows, threats of new entrants, whether the barrier of entry is high or low? What about substitutes, coming into the market? Because we are living in a highly innovative era where the introduction of new product is ever more rapid than before. Fit those information into the framework, and from there you will then make an assessment. You make an evaluation, right? What's good and what's bad. So in this case, what's the threats and opportunities? So what are threats? Threats are positive gaps. Negative gaps. Opportunities are positive gaps. In the internet environment, the strengths are the positive gaps. The weaknesses will become the negative gaps. So once you have come to that evaluation where you will state what are the positive and negative gaps, you have done a critique. So therefore, ladies and gentlemen, critical evaluation means identification of gaps, of practical gaps, and practical gaps could be both positive and negative. What about when you go to the 4 independent variables that you have selected? Marketing, if let's say you selected marketing effectiveness, strategic planning, human capital, productivity, and financial. Let's say these are the 4 factors you have chosen. So what do? Depending on what information that you have gathered, the first thing is you go and look for the relevant theoretical conceptual framework or models or tools they can use to analyze those information. First, present the information and analyze the information to come up with positive and negative gaps. So your judgment, your evaluation, your analysis and evaluation will lead to what you will consider as good and the bad. But your evaluation has to be evidence-based, presented and analyzed in some theoretical frameworks. So that's what critique is. That's what critical evaluation is. What's so difficult about that? Nothing difficult about that. I cannot be more specific. I cannot be clearer than that. Right? So I hope today you get an absolute clarity as to what critical evaluation is. You collect information, fit the information in certain theoretical framework to present the facts and figures, as well as views of others, qualitative input views of others. And then from there, you will then use these views and information or data to arrive at your conclusion as to what you see the positive gaps are and the negative gaps are. So as far as the independent variables are, what could be the positive gaps? Any issues, problems, challenges, weaknesses, threats related to that factor would be considered positive gaps. While the negative gaps will be what? Poor practices, obsolete practices. Sorry, I think I put it the other way around, yeah? What I mentioned earlier on just now are negative gaps. The issues, the challenges, the weaknesses, the threats are negative gaps. The poor practices are negative gaps. What are positive gaps? Positive gaps are what you conclude as opportunities, best practices. I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, would have heard of benchmark for best practices. That's what we did when I was managing this MNC many years ago. Right? At the senior level, we continue to look for best practices. Best practices means we need to benchmark it. How do we benchmark it? We need to go and find out what others are doing. What are the best companies in the industry or in the businesses doing? What makes them so good? Can we benchmark that and adapt it to our industry, our company? So remember, At the end of your review of your dependent variable in the introduction chapter, and then you come to the literature review where you go into the specific, because the introduction is more generic. This one is more specific. Specific to what? Specific to certain specific functions. You need to arrive at the positive. So gaps analysis is the final, the gaps, the practical gaps are the final outcome of a critical evaluation. So if you have not done so in your previous assignment, please now do it for your RM assignment. And more so, much more so, for your final project paper. Then let me now come to a bit more detail as to, because I'm talking about you need to collect other people's views, right? What views you need to collect to do a more in-depth critical analysis, so that your analysis is more multi-perspective. You see, very often we have this narrow view, thinking in a silo. Sometimes you are caught in the four walls of our office or four walls of a company that we tend to think too conventionally, forgetting that there are many other perspectives to the issue or new developments. We have to keep an open mind. Only then a company could move forward. And that's what I call sustainability. You see, back in the 70s and 80s, when I first entered the corporate world, that time, particularly in the 80s and 90s, a lot of businesses are very concerned with scalability of the business. Scalability. You know scalability? What scalability? Scalability means increase the business, expand the business. Why in the 80s, 90s we are so engrossed with scalability? Because that is the time when the entire business is globalizing, including business is globalizing. One small company or a medium-sized company in Malaysia are basically looking at how to spread their wings, how to go beyond the borders of Malaysia. So are companies from various countries in the world, because the world is their market. No more the national market, it's the international market. Now you perhaps appreciate why there's these two electives in your MBA curriculum. I was involved. I'm not the creator, but I was involved in giving feedback to about this international part, the global part of the syllabus before it was introduced in Malaysia. And when this was presented, I fully agreed. Because it is inevitable that we have to look at internationalization of business. So we need to have multiple views. So how to ensure that your work is, now coming back to the scalability part, scalability part. But when it comes to late 90s and moving into year 2000, which is now the 21st century, you know what the challenge is? I think all companies know how to scale, no problem, because they have learned. But the challenge today is sustainability. So on one hand, there's business scalability. On the other hand is sustainability. What do you mean by sustainability? See, you build up the business, right? But will you be able to sustain it over a long time? And sustainability depending on innovation. And innovation comes about from further research, from further observation of the market. And we have to be open. I use the word open-mindedness. We have to be open-minded to what's happening out there. We have to be sensitive. And back to your research proposal, how to illustrate that multiple perspectives to your research? Collect views, yes, gather views. But can you see my third bullet point there? Contrasting views. You see, a researcher, because we are all human beings, yeah? We are all human beings. You're a human being, I'm a human being. We are not aliens. We are not animals. Even though some people say we are an animal kingdom. Yeah, in a way, yes, but we are, yeah, higher order thinking type of animals, so to speak, yeah? No, we are human beings, all right? Don't call us animals, okay? All right? We are bestowed with the brains to think. But as a human, we would have our biasness, right? You will support certain things, you will not support certain things, you know, all right? Again, that's normal, that's perfect, that's okay, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Agree to disagree is fine, but don't kill each other for that, that's not fine, all right? So when you collect views, yes, collect contrasting views. Let's say you collect view A and view B. View A and view B, they are contrasting means what? It's opposing views. One probably agree, one probably disagree of certain things. Or one have a view which is totally different from another view. Collect these views. Don't only collect views that you tend to support, views that you don't support, you don't think is right, then you don't want to collect. No. You collect these views, the contrasting views. Let's say view A and view B, from author A and author B, from source A and source B. Present it into your framework, because that gives you the multi-perspective to the issue that you are looking at. But then when you, because you need to review, right? Because this time I'm talking about view, you need to review. During the review, you can state your agreement or disagreement. When you state your agreement or disagreement, you have to support with further information. Example, let's say I've got view A and view B, right? My final stand could be, there could be a permutation, there could be few possibilities of what my final stand would be. Okay, I could agree with A, disagree with B. Then I will give evidence why I agree with A, disagree with B. Or I could disagree with A, agree with B. So I need to have information to support why I agree with B. Or I may partially agree with A, partially agree with B, disagree with A, partially agree with B, partially disagree with B. So there's partial agreement for both. And put that partial agreement that I have and present more information to support. Or the third possibility. What would the third possibility be? I disagree with both. I disagree with A, I disagree with B. I've got other views. And these other views could be based on prevailing views. Please look at the fourth bullet point. Prevailing views, the emergent views. New development, new technological development, new innovative development that may change the landscape of a business. That could be a game changer. In business today, in order to achieve the sustainable competitive edge, all industries continually looking for innovations to give them that sustainable competitive advantage. So you could use some prevailing views to support your review. And your review will be resulting in positive and negative gaps. So I come back to the gaps that I'm talking about just now. But of course, when you do your review, You may not get all the information that you want. Life is not perfect. Life is never perfect. Only God is perfect. So when you do a review, there could be information imperfection. There could be gaps that you cannot qualify because you don't have the information. These are information gaps. So these information gaps would be your further questions for further research. So I'm introducing another gaps, yeah? There are two types of gaps, okay? There are practical gaps. Practical gaps are gaps that you can arrive at from whatever information that you manage to collect. Those information that you can't find, for you to identify more gaps, would be information gaps. I repeat, there will be practical gaps based on available information and information gap based on information inavailability. Of course, you need to choose a topic that you have, to a large extent, information available. You can't find a perfect topic that you have 100% information availability. I've got this very idealistic student in Colombo, I think about a year ago. So I don't think I can do this this research project. There's no, I can't find any research topic, and I asked him why. He said, "There's no one topic I can find in all information I wanted." Of course not. Right, in the real world, when you are faced with an issue for you to decide at work. Let's say you're a senior manager in an organization. Would you have all the information that you want? No, you have certain information, and those areas that you don't have information, then you have to use assumption. But of course, the assumption has to be a qualified assumption. So those information gaps would be the basis of your further questions for further research, which you will take to your second component of your research proposal, which is your research design proposal. That answers one student's question, I think, early in the morning or yesterday, whether the research design proposal has anything to do with literature review. And my answer at that time was, yes, of course, because you're working on the two components based on the same topic. So from your literature review, you would also identify information gaps. What are the further, and these information gaps will be the further questions to be investigated, to be explored, to be pursued in your second component, where you would design a primary research, where one of the elements or instruments you will design would be the question. So the questionnaire will consist of questions asked to gather more information. I won't go into the details of that. We will learn that tomorrow. But here, please understand what critique is. That brings me to this next slide. Let me tell you, this slide is my most frequently used slide. I just had a session on Wednesday with your seniors. You know who your seniors? Your seniors doing the project right now. And 2 weekends ago, I had a session, an RM session with our Malta campus. And last month, I had session with Colombo campus, RM mode. And I will point out to all students, if there is one slide that you want to print out and paste it on your board or in front of you, is this particular slide. Why? Let me share with you now. There's some insider information. No, I'm not definitely insider information. Yeah? Listen up carefully. Yeah. These are the very criteria used by the universities chief examiner and external examiner when they examine the final work of students. This is exactly what they look for. Firstly, information must be evident. I don't think I need to stress that anymore. I stress that enough, I guess. Secondly, whether you have applied any frameworks of analysis, tools or models in analyzing. So I've given you numerous examples already. Thirdly, critical evaluation. I have just alluded to this aspect in half an hour just now, what critical evaluation is. So they want to see whether you have arrived at final outcomes of positive and negative gaps. And finally, okay, before that, if you can meet these first three criteria, you will do well, you will at least pass, and you will do well. But if you want to score a distinction, right, in the final project or even in your RM assignment, you need to show the depth of analysis. What is the depth of analysis? It's the mapping and expansion of factors to different level of sub-factors. But if you have adopted appropriate framework analysis in criteria number 2, you would be able to achieve depth of analysis, because all framework analysis for any factor will subdivide that factor into various sub-levels. What do I mean by that? Factor subdivided into sub-factors, and within each sub-factors can be divided into sub-sub-factors. Within each sub-sub-factors can be divided into sub-sub-sub-factors. Now you know why submarine is called a submarine, isn't it, right? All right, okay, yeah. Because you submerge, you go deeper and deeper and deeper. So what do I mean by depth of analysis? I would now go to this particular slide to illustrate to you what depth of analysis means. Say, for instance, you have chosen strategic planning as a factor. So first, what did I say? You must identify what analysis framework you can use. The example I shown here is N-SOF matrix as my analysis framework. And the sub-factors are, because there are elements of N-SOF matrix. N-SOF matrix is one aspect of strategic planning, sub-factor in the form of analysis frameworks. And within the analysis framework, you have these quadrants, these options, these strategic growth options: market penetration, market development, product development, and education. Say I don't look at diversification. I want to look at the sensor matrix is very useful, yeah, by the way, in the real world, yeah, not only for academic purpose. We use this in managing our MNCs, those days, my days when I was working in this multinational. So then, within each of these sub-factors, as you can see at the bottom there, you may want to stand for what? Advertising information. Product, market development. How am I going to look at market development options? How the company has done market development, domestic, international market development. Product development, I may want to look at new product development process. I may also use the BCG metrics to identify where the various products are. The positive gaps one would be the one in the question mark and the one in the star. Cash cow, in a way, is also positive because they generate cash to sustain current business. But if there are products that are approaching to become a dog, means it's going to be phased out because they have reached the declining stage or late maturity stage. Those are negative gaps. So what you see on your screen is an example of how you subdivide one main factor into various level of sub-factors. And what do? You start looking for information to fit into all these areas for you to do your analysis and review. And next on your screen is another example. If someone chooses marketing effectiveness as the factor, so then you need to identify what sub-factor want you to look at, depending on analysis framework. So let's say you have selected marketing mix, and the marketing mix you selected will be subdivided into sub-factors like product, price, place, and promotion. And within each of the P's, what further analysis framework would you want to adopt to analyze the product strategy, to analyze the pricing strategy, to analyze the placing strategy, to analyze the promotion strategy? And all this you have learned. And you're applying it in the real world. And by you looking at those various levels of sub-factors, it provides you the depth of analysis. Not just touching on the surface. At the master's level, you just can't touch on the surface. You have to go deeper. Not one level deeper, but second level deeper, and probably up to sub levels, the triple sub levels is good enough. So that is how you achieve depth of analysis. So these are the 4 criteria that you should be very mindful of. Whenever you write your work, you do your work, see whether you can meet this 4 criteria or not. Okay, that's quite a question. Yeah? For those sub-factors and sub-sub-factors, do we need to go for all details by each? Very good question. Very good question. First, you need to see what information that you have gathered. Okay? Based on the information you have gathered, then you will then select the relevant sub-factors for you to analyze those facts and figures. You cannot possibly be going into all, especially for your RM assignment, because your RM assignment comes in the form of a research proposal. You will not be able to get into very detailed review. But you can show the various levels that you have gone into. But when you come to your final project, the answer is yes. Because there, the word count will be much more extensive. The word count will be 13,000 to about 14,000 words. Here, we are talking about, in the literature review alone, about 2,500 to 3,000 words. So it's not enough. Exactly. All right. Okay. I'll come to the number of words for RM assignment later on. Yeah, tomorrow when I brief you on the assignment, and then later on what to expect in the final project. But you need to start collecting the information and understand. Because at this stage, you're learning. You understand the criteria first. All right, before you execute your work. Okay. Now, before we go for our short break, because after the break, I'll go into Harvard referencing. Yeah, but before that, let me just share with you something I think it's very pertinent because we in the academic world, right? Okay, I would say not only in the academic world, even in the practical world, there is this thing about critical and creative thinking. Now, let's be honest with ourselves. What is holding back Malaysia or many third world countries from achieving a developed status? At a very basic level, this one. It's not how much raw material do we have, whether our country is bestowed. Our country is very rich. We have got good natural resources. Yeah, we have oil, all type of oil, right? Palm oil. We have fuel oil. Oh, this, right? Thinking. We need to achieve higher order of thinking. Right? Indonesia is the fourth largest population in the world, the largest population in the whole of Southeast Asia. Are there developed nations yet? Yeah, not yet. Which is the smallest nation? I'm not sure whether it's Brunei or Singapore, right? Okay, but let's just take Singapore for example, right? Singapore is relatively much smaller than many of Southeast Asian countries. Do they have any resources as much as all the other countries? No. All right. We have to benchmark for good practices. But I'm not saying Singapore is perfect, yeah? Singapore got other cultural issues. You and I know. No country is perfect anyway. But we try to benchmark for good practices, best practices. The best practices, critical and creative thinking. We need to embed this in our schools at a very young age. Students at a very young age, 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, promote that inquisitive nature, inquisitive learning, questioning why and how, not what. What is this? Oh, this is an apple. What is this number? Oh, 1, 2, 3. Okay, you memorize. 1, 2, 3, 4. What 1 means, what 2 means, what 3 means, what 3 plus 1 means, what 3 minus 2 means. Of course, that you learn, yes. But that is the lower order thinking. Now, let's look at the Bloom's taxonomy now. Let's look at the Bloom's taxonomy now. It's a perfect model used to promote critical and creative thinking. First, let's look at the first 3 levels. These are called the lower order thinking. Like I mentioned earlier this morning, all of us, when we were in primary school and secondary school, we were taught very much the lower level thinking, especially the first 2. Remember, okay, you go remember, yeah, okay, A, B, C, when you're young, right? Okay, yeah, and then memorize. Understand here means what? They're able to explain. Yeah, we're able to explain. And we're able to apply to a certain extent. Yeah. Use the information in different situations. Example. But the challenge is the next 3 level. Analyze. What does analyze mean? Ability to compare and contrast information in different situations, benchmarking for good practices. Analyzing the current situation, the current views. What are the differences? What do you think are the positive and the negative gaps? That's what analysis is all about. And you evaluate, you justify a standard decision. Now you understand what I meant earlier on just now, that I say that at the final outcome of your review would be you stating your stand, your decision, your evaluation, your appraisal, your assessment, your input. That's evaluation. That's critical. This analysis and evaluation here is critical. And then you move on to be creating something new, creating solutions, creating an action in response to the gaps that you have identified through your critical evaluation. That is the creative thinking. See, some people are very good in identifying problems, issues. I think most people are, isn't it, right? Okay, this one not good, that one not good. All right, okay, this one good, that one good. Right? What to do about it? Huh? That's what makes the difference. That's why creative thinking is the apex, the top of the thinking order. And today's business sustainability is a function of creativity. Not good enough if a business manager is a critical thinker, but it has to be someone who can create. Example, like the late Steve Jobs. He's very good in compare and contrasting the current situation, come up with his own ideas, and execute his ideas to his creation. That's what makes it sustainable until today. Of course, yes, he's gone, but his legacy lives on. And if you want me to share with you another example of a tool where it requires a lot of critical and creative thinking skills, would be the conceptual framework called Blue Ocean Strategy. I'm sure all of you have heard of it. Blue Ocean Strategy. Because you need to continually looking for niches. And these niches comes from creative ideas, creative products, creative services. Next is how. What are the tools you could use for critical thinking? What you see on the screen right now are the tools developed by Edward de Bono. So we talk about blues, right? Okay. Edward de Bono is, I think, a British scholar, but I think is a Maltese descendant. A Maltese, but he's a British scholar. He came up with this critical thinking skill. Let me just go through it very quickly. PMI. PMI means what? Plus, minus, interesting. What did I say just now? Identification of positive and negative gaps and interesting developments, prevailing views. So keep your mind thinking that way. And once when you are trying to seek what those PMIs are, consider all factors. Now you probably understand why I've asked you to choose a multitude of factors. Because otherwise, your thinking will be narrow in scope. So widen a little bit by, taking in a multitude of factors. And consider other people's views. You may agree, you may disagree, that you can talk about it later, but collect these views. Read them, consider them, analyze them, and you review it. Review it means what? Then only you provide your views. Yes, in collection of information, you may have, sometimes we are flooded with information. Like I say, we are in a virtual world today. Sometimes we have so much information. We get confused. That's why in life, we have to prioritize what are more important, what are less important. You have to decide on that. Which one would you prioritize? And based on your evaluation, you would then look at the consequences and the sequels. What are the final outcomes of the review? So the first five, PMI, CAF, OPVs, FIP, and CNS, are basically the tools that you will use to a large extent in doing your research proposal. But when you come to your final project, this next two thinking tools will come into play. Because you are going to, remember what is the final stage of the research process? Conclusions and recommendations. What did I say that conclusions and recommendations are? It will be all incorporated in one business plan. What is a business plan? A business plan is a plan of actions and solutions, responding to the gaps that you have identified. This is where the creative thinking comes in. This is where the creative thinking comes in. You come up with your aims, your goals and objectives, and you come up with alternative actions, all possible solutions. What are the various options available, and which option would you adopt at the end of the day? So AGO and APC would be very much related to the creative thinking part. The first five thinking tools will help you to come up with your critical assessment. So the first three is what I would encourage you to bear in mind for your RM assignment. Look for the plus, minus, interesting development. Make sure you consider all factors, including sub-factors. And in collection of your information, you consider other people's views before you present your views. All right. So that is the critical thinking tools. The next thing that I will be doing for the remaining part of this afternoon would be Harvard referencing. Because as I've mentioned earlier on just now, here, hold on, you're going to collect the information. And you need to know where you're going to collect the information from credible sources, right? And from these credible sources, which I'll explain after the break afterwards, then you need to know how to cite these sources of information. So we do this at the remaining part of this afternoon. So in the meantime, the clock tells me that it's 3:15 now, 1-5. Go for a very short comfort break, 5 minutes only. All right, okay, yeah, come back here at 20 minutes past 3. And for the next 40 minutes, I will focus on where you can get good information, what the university expects, where the university expects you to find information, and how you do Harvard. Go for your 5 minutes break and be back here at 20 minutes past 3. See you all later. It's 20 minutes past 3 now, so we've got 40 minutes to go for me to cover the sources of information, and also for me to demonstrate to you how do you go about doing Harvard referencing in an effective and efficient manner. All right, so before that, let's now recap very quickly what we have done. So we started off with what literature evidence review is. So I spent considerable time to explain to you what critical evaluation is. In a nutshell, in essence, critical evaluation means that you come up with, the final outcomes of positive and negative gaps, but of course not before you collect information and presented this information in the various relevant analysis conceptual frameworks that you have learned. So the key is still collection of information. So what you see on your screen right now would be the sources of information that the university expects you to collect your information from. Now, listen carefully. I have deliberately arranged in the order that you see on your screen right now. Order of what? Order of importance. Not only the MBA program you're doing with UWPSD. Take it from me. Any field of studies in any university, anywhere in the world, as long as it's in the university environment, these are the sources of information in its order of importance. The most important one will be the top of the list, which are journals. All academicians all over the world in whatever fields, whether in the medical fields, the business fields, in the anthropological, sociological fields, psychology fields, whatever field, political science field, journal articles will be the main references that any university professor or examiner you want to look for. What are journals? Journals consist of research articles generated by scholars in their continual academic research. And where do you find these journal articles? In journal database, which I won't go through today. I will go first thing in the morning tomorrow. Because if I were to go through journal today, you have too much information for you to absorb. So we'll do that when you're fresh. First thing in the morning. To understand, journals consist of research articles, journal by academic scholars after they have completed their continual research in various aspects of business and published it. And let me now share with you, most good work, particularly the final stage, would consist mostly of journal article references. They can go up to 70-80% of journal articles. And from journal articles is where you could generate a lot of citations and references. You could be referring to only one journal article of say 20-50 pages long. But from one journal article, you can generate 5 references, 8 references, even 10 references. You may ask me, how can that be possible? Of course it's possible. My good students at the project stage can generate 100 references for a work of 13,000 words, 14,000 words. You mean to say that they have actually read 100 over articles? No. It can be based on 4 or 5 articles. There's no issue of plagiarism because you need to paraphrase what you have. Because remember what I mentioned earlier on, you need to present other people's views because these are all inputs. This is your qualitative and quantitative inputs. But when you present it, you have to paraphrase it. So there is no issue of plagiarism. Of course, if you take word for word, there will be plagiarism. Number one. Number two, you have to then analyze and provide your views, your academic work. No. How can references only be showing one source? Right? On different publications which are listed in the list of references in that one journal article. One journal article, of course, those without citation will be the journal writer's input. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Can, Dr. Kui, but I think your screen is going on. Please.
Just want to make sure. Come again?
It's breaking. It's breaking. It's breaking.
It's breaking. I think there's a heavy storm out there. I don't know whether it has affected my internet. Okay, I'll try to. Can everybody see me now?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, very clear.
All right. Okay. Because I have connected and disconnected and connected again. Okay. Let me come back to where I was earlier on just now. Yep. Okay. So I was talking about journal articles. So worry not. Let's not go into this yet. Tomorrow, I will show you. I will show you actual journal articles, where to search for journal articles. Right? You have to search for journal databases. We have subscribed to a certain journal databases. So all about journals, I'll talk about it. And you could generate a lot of references from it. When I did my doctorate for thesis, I have probably about 1,600 references, 1,006 to 1,008 references. But of course, the final thesis, I adopted about 800 to 900 references. It didn't mean that I read 1,600, 1,800 articles. I'm no Superman. I'm not super being. Yeah, I'm not superhero. Right? There are ways to do it, and you shall learn from it how to do it. I'll provide you the guidance. All right? Okay. But for today, I'm going to show you how you cite and reference from the various other sources. Books is one of them. What do you use books for? Books is where you go and look for the conceptual definitions of frameworks. So before you start doing your review, you give a brief explanation, conceptual explanation to the framework that you are adopting. Where you get all these conceptual definitions from? You get from books, from textbooks. Let's say, for example, just now I showed you the marketing mix, the copies. So what's product, what's price, what's place, what promotion? Just give a brief definition. Brief conceptual definition that you get from, bring in your information for further analysis and evaluation. What are conference proceedings? Conference proceedings will be referring to the materials that you may have gathered from conferences or seminars that you have attended in the past. I believe as a working adult, you could have attended some conferences, some workshops, some seminars where papers are presented, and these papers presented during these seminars, this workshop, these conferences, it could be government-related conferences, it could be private sector conferences, and the materials could be one source of information. Next will be company reports, like annual reports of company, annual reports of public listed companies. Company reports could also be including industry reports. Let's say, for example, I'm doing a banking study on banking industry. And I've got a couple of banks. Let's say, for example, Maybank is my case study. Yeah, Maybank is a public listed company. I can get hold of annual reports. But there are a couple of other banks who are probably also public research, RHB banks, CIB Bank, Public Bank. I can also collect their annual reports and extract information from that to do my analysis, compare and contrast, do comparative analysis to look for gaps. What about industry reports? If I'm doing a banking one, then of course I will go to the BNM sites to look for the central bank reports, the downloadable reports. And of course, newspapers and magazines. These are more frequent publications, which will provide you more up-to-date information. Hot from the oven. Because these are published on a very frequent basis. Newspapers on a daily basis. Magazines could be monthly, bi-monthly. And last but not least, websites. Websites is deliberately put at the last option, the least important option. Take note, it's least important. Not to say that it's not important, but in the academic world, this is the least important. But I know from many past students' work, your work has been in the opposite order of this. Most of your references citation, HTTP. Take it from me. No universities in the world at the postgraduate level, especially in the final work, the final project or the thesis, would look at the work favorably if the list of references are all websites. Then you may ask me, to what extent do I do website references? Use the Pareto principle. You know what's the Pareto principle? 80-20. If I look at a list of references, up to 20% should be websites, no more than that. The remaining 80% from all the various. That would be a good work. And that's how all academicians, not only UWTST, and not only in MBA, in any fields of studies, in university environment, in academic work, how references should be like. So let's now begin by me doing a hands-on workshop. You got to focus on what I do hands-on using the Microsoft Word, how I do citation and referencing using the Harvard protocol for these various sources. Right? But before that, okay, let me just show you a typical Word document. All right? Now, I'm not sure how many of you have actually used the Microsoft Word to do your referencing. What do I mean by that? Look at my cursor, everyone. Look at my cursor. Let me just... this is my home tab. Now look at my cursor. I'm going to go to the references tab. I click this. All right. When I click this, the tab will show me the referencing here. Yeah. Can you see the style here? So the style that I have by default in my Microsoft Word is Harvard everywhere. All right. So there are many other Harvard referencing style. APA, Chicago. The other very popular one is MLA. In my past studies, for my master's, I've used MLA, and for my doctorate, I use APA. So all these are different protocols. They're very similar. They're very similar, but there are some differences. But for your purpose, you have to have Harvard India. So you have to pre-select Harvard India. But the problem is this: if you have the latest Microsoft Office version, you will already have Harvard within this style. But if you have older Microsoft Office versions, you may not have Harvard pre-installed in your Microsoft Word document. So what you do here is, if you cannot find Harvard in the list for you to choose from, do this. Well, right? And you see the last, okay. I have in my slide how to add Harvard referencing to Microsoft Word. There's a web link there. So if you cannot find Harvard in the referencing list in your Word document, means it's not installed. So you click on that link and it will bring you to a website, a web link, where it will detail step by step what to do to add the Harvard referencing to your Microsoft Word, either in Windows space or in what do you call that, the MacBook, right? Okay, all right, the Apple environment. All right, okay, yeah. So it could be either one, right? So you go through. That's why you have to do it yourself. All right. This is my guide to you, right? The value added for you. All right. In fact, you need to explore this. Yeah. So let's come back to the Harvard referencing using the Word document. Let's say you are now here, other references. Select what? Select Harvard. And then you are ready to do your citation and referencing as you type your work, as you do your review or whatever assignment work or project work. But before I start the demo now, can can you just press the show of hands? Yeah, for those of you who have used this feature in the Microsoft Word to do your Harvard referencing. Yes, one. Anybody else? Yes, two. Anybody else? Okay. 12 participants, 15, 17. Some more? Anyone else who have know how to use this and have used this for referencing? 20. Just click raise hand. I can try to gauge, how many of you. Any more? Raise your hand. Whoever is here, right? Okay, plus, right? Okay, yeah. Try now. Oh, by the way, can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Yes? No?
Yes, Dr. Queen.
Can, yeah? All right, okay. Okay, there are many more who says that they have, okay. So my guess is this. Not many of you know how to use this. The other alternative is do it manually. Manually, you go and type your that, go into the reference list, type, and make sure you arrange it in alphabetical order by the first letter of the first author last name, and so on and so on. All right, okay, yeah? But you need not do all those because you have the Word document to do it. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to show you how to do, we go source by source, okay? We go source by source, all right? So let's say we are looking at a book. Let's say I'm now reading a book, okay? And I want to extract things from the book, all right? Okay, I want to extract things from the book. And now I'm extracting it now, okay? Yeah, I'm extracting it now. And I'm going to paraphrase certain things from the books for me to include in my report. Okay, I'm going to do it hypothetically now. Everybody watch what's happening on your screen right now. So what I'm doing here is I am typing certain things, paraphrasing certain things from a book, let's say. And then I need to cite it and reference it. How do I do it? Okay, so of course, normally when your Word document opens, it opens with a home tab. So we're going to go to references. So I'm going to first click, and I'm going to do a few examples, then you get the idea, okay? I click insert citation, and then it says add new source. I click that, a box will pop up. Once the box pop up, this is called what? This is called the source box. So I need to first select the source. So let's say I'm doing an example of a book. So I'm referring to a book. Then before I key in the details, I click here. Can you see the bottom here? Show all bibliography fields. Click that. And what happens here is the fields to be filled would be indicated by a red asterisk. And all you do is to fill in those areas. Can everybody hear me? Can everybody hear me? Admin?
Yes, Dr. Kui, but it's breaking only.
All right, okay. All right. Now, yes, yeah? All right. Okay. So how do we fill in this areas, yeah? So I repeat, yeah? I repeat, hold on. Okay, tell you what, I will try to reconnect, disconnect and reconnect and come back. Just give me a moment. Can you hear me now?
Yes, Dr. Kui.
Yeah, okay, all right. So let's continue now. All right, I was showing you how to do the citation and referencing using the Word document. So let's say I'm now trying to insert a citation from a source called a book. So you select from here a book and click all show all bibliography fields. And all you need to do is to key in those with the red asterisk. So those are required fields. How do you key in author's name? Don't key in straight away like this. Click edit, a box will pop up. So let's say this book is by Kotler and it's by Philip Kotler. Just add in. I'll show you an example of a single author book first. And let's say the title of the book, you have to get this information from the book that you're referring to. I'm doing it hypothetically. Yeah. Okay. Let's say the title of the book is Marketing Management. The year of publication of the books you could find within the first preliminary pages. Let's say the book is published in 2019, and the city, let's say, is published in New Jersey, let's say. Right? I'm just making it, yeah, all these details you get from the book itself. Yeah, I'm just showing you how it will look like afterwards. Let's say the publisher is Pearson And what other fields you need to fill in? Addition, let's say this is the 10 edition. All this information you can get from the cover of the book or the preliminary pages of the book. So you key in accordingly, all right? So scroll up and down and see everything is keyed in. Yes, everything is keyed in. And click OK. I want everybody to look at the end. Look at this, my cursor here. What will appear at the end of the sentence that I've typed just now? I've keyed in all the details of the citation. I'm going to click OK now. Everybody watch. Hotler 2019. Did I type this? No, I did not type this. This was generated automatically and efficiently by the Word document, by Microsoft Word. So how would the reference look like? Do I need to type the references? From now onwards, after you keyed in the details for the citation, after it has cited or generated the citation, let's say, for example, this is the last page, the references can also be automatically generated without you worrying about it. How to do it? Okay, I'm going to click bibliography. Can you see bibliography here? Okay, drill down this. You see bibliography references, use references. So let's say I put references here. You click that here, put references here, and see what happens. Look, you see from your screen right now. Okay, references. Did I type this? No, I did not type this. This was automatically generated by the software. All I did was, the only thing at the time that you do it manually is keying the details. The generation of the citation, the generation of the references will be done automatically. And it's for sure it's going to be correct. I mean, the structure of it. But the details, if you got it wrong, of course it will be wrong. Yeah, it's onus is on you to key the right details. So Kotler P 2019 Marketing Management in italics, 10th edition is in ED, you just see PSL. This is the Harvard referencing protocol, how it's going to be presented. And you need to worry about it because the software will handle it. Okay, let me just show you another example now. Okay, this time around, I'm going to show you example of, say, same example, books, but this time around, 2 authors. How to do it? Okay, going to do it again now. Insert citation. You notice the Kotler film is already in there. If anywhere further to your review or your paper, your write-up, you refer to Kotler's book again, you just click this, the citation will come back again, right? In other parts of your work. If this is a new source, just click Add New Source. What will happen? A box will pop up. And this is called the source box for you to key in the details. What is the source? First, select the source. Let's say it's a book. And then click Show All Bibliography Fields and key in the details. By the way, details for different sources will be different, okay? These are details for books. When you come to journal articles, the details are different. From what they call the company reports, the details are different, yeah? Okay, so be mindful of that. Not all are the same, okay? For books, these are the standard items needed. Okay, let's say this is a 2 authors book. Let's say the first author name is Andrew, James Andrew. Click Add, and let's say the next name is Thompson, let's say. All right, okay, David Thompson, let's say. I'm just making this up, yeah, for illustration purpose. Let's say 2 authors. And I click OK, the name would appear here. Let's say the title of the book here is Managing Human Capital, let's say. Right? Oops. Okay, the year of publication is, let's say, 2018. The city, let's say, is published is London. Let's say the publisher is McGraw-Hill. All this, like I said, yeah, you need to get it from the details to books, yeah. What's the edition? The next one, let's say this is the 8th edition of the book. You scroll up and down to make sure that all those required fields are filled. Then what do? You click OK. And let's see what happens at the end of the sentence. Okay. Andrew and Thompson 2018. The citations were generated automatically. What about the references? Okay. Can you see here? I click here. Can you see update citation and bibliography? I click this. the next reference will appear. But let me ask you this question. When do you think the reference will appear? Before Kotler or after Kotler? Because this is my second citation, right? But in referencing order, where do you think it will appear? After Kotler or before Kotler? See, the rule here is for Harvard referencing and many of the referencing protocol that these references will be what they call that arranged automatically, yeah, arranged alphabetically, yeah, automatically. Let me just click this one here, yeah. All right. Click update. Can you see Andrew J and Thompson D 2018 managing capital 8 edition London recording. So because A is the first letter of the last name of the first author. A is before K. So it would be arranged. You need to worry about this? No, because the Microsoft Word will do it for you. Imagine if you were to do it this, what they call manually. God bless you, because it's going to be very, very tedious. All right, okay, yeah? So use technology to do it. All right, next. I'm going to show you the example this time around. Book of 3 authors. Okay, let's say I'm referring to another book now, and this time around, there are 3 authors. What's the step now? Insert citation, add new source, a box will pop up. First, you choose the source. So we are still looking at an example of a book, the book. Before I key in anything, I click show all bibliography fields, and I go to key in the author's name. So this time around, let's say there are 3 authors. Okay, let's say it's Calvin, Peter Calvin. Let's say I'm just making this up, yeah. And then the next one here, let's say Brooks, Harry Brooks. Let's say. All right, I'm just making it up, yeah. Let's say this is let's say Kotler is one of the co-author, but he's the 3rd author. He's not the first author. All right, let's say. Okay, 3 authors name. Title of the book, let's say it's International all right. All right, okay, and let's say the publication of the book is 2020. All right, okay, let's say the city published, let's say it's also in London. And let's say the publisher here is Pearson. And then what other fields you need to fill in? Let's say edition. Let's say this is the 5th edition. Any other fields to be filled in? No need. All I filled in already. And I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK here. And let's see what happens at the end of the sentence here. All right, okay? Look here. Okay. Kelvin et al. 2020. Because when there are more than what they call 2 authors, right? When there are more than 2 authors, right? Okay, not all the authors will be indicated in the citation. All right, okay. Okay, go ahead, Daniel, your question, please. You can unmute yourself.
Doc, when we are doing our assignment, we're actually using Arial, and font 12. And when we update the references, do we also use the wording for Arial, because the references will have its difference?
For your references from now onwards, particularly for your final paper, right? In the modular stage, it's quite flexible. But I would advise students to configure your font to Times News Roman, okay, font 12 with the line spacing of 1.5. Get used to that, yeah, because later on when you come to the project, you will be using that, yeah, and all will be in that font, yeah. Times News Roman, size 12, right, okay, and the line spacing will be 1.5. All right. Now, another question asked by Rina is about citation for websites. Hang on to it. I will come to websites afterwards, because I'm just doing for books, yeah, because I'm going by this order, yeah. So books, I'm going to show you a couple of examples of company reports, and then websites to show you how we're going to do it. Yeah. Okay. So we're going to go through everything. Yeah. We're going to do it comprehensively. We will leave no stones unturned. All right. Okay. Let's go back now to my Word document. All right. So here I have already typed in and cited the three authors. Let's look how it looks like at the reference list. So once I update this, where do you think would it appear? Where do you think would it appear? It would appear between Andrew and Kotler. Why? Because the first author last name was Kelvin. So it's C, yeah? So it will be automatically and alphabetically arranged. Let me click this one. Can you see that? Kelvin P, Brooks H, Kotler P, 2020 International Marketing Bit Edition Creation. So I've shown you examples of books references. The next thing that I want to show you is the very commonly used are reports. And websites. Okay, let's now do the report one first. Then we do the website, and then we can. Because of a few technical disruptions just now, you please bear with me. I think we need to extend it a little bit, say by 15 minutes, yeah, for me to cover the remaining ones. All right, but it will worth your time, I assure you. All right. Let's say now I am wanting to get something from an annual report. So I want to show you live now where you can find annual report. Okay. Let me go to the website here. Okay. Let's say, for example, I'm doing a case study of AirAsia. So what you do here is you can simply type AirAsia. All right. Okay. And you go to the AirAsia website. But when you go to AirAsia website, what you see here is, oops. Okay, so you come to the AirAsia website. This is what we call the e-commerce site. Yeah, the e-commerce site. But if you want to look for corporate information, so let's say I go all the way to the bottom. I go all the way to the bottom. I am able to find, you see, about us and so on. Can you see investor relations? I click this. When I click investor relations, it will bring me here. All right, okay, and then I'll just do step by step, yeah. Investor relations will bring me to a page where I find the different public listed entities. Let's say I'm looking at AirAsia Group in general, right? I mean, this particular one, yeah? Okay, let's say I click more details. It will take me to this page of AirAsia Group Berhad. So you have corporate information, investor relations, news release, and so on, all right? So where do you find your investor relations? Click this. Can you see 5-year financial, quarterly reports, annual audited accounts? All these information. So let's say I'm interested in annual report. I click annual report. All right. So the latest annual report is 2020. I click this and open up the report, which I have done it prior to the class. Let's say we go straight to the report now. This is how the report looks like. How many pages is this report? 299 pages of information. So lots of information you can get from this report. Right? Let's look at the typical content of a annual report. It could be a bit about AirAsia, about their digital engineering aspects, about some of their diversified business like Santan. And of course, you have management discussion and analysis of their results. Whose views are these? These are all PVs, other people's views. Whose views? The company's views. All right, okay? All right, and then the various other corporate social responsibility, and so on and so forth. So there's lots of information beside the financial statements. So this one report of 299 pages will contain a lot of quantitative and qualitative information that you can use for your review. So let's say now I want to cite this report. Do I cite using a website references by highlighting this? By putting, no, don't do that, please. All downloadable documentary evidence will need to be cited according to the document type. This is the report. You can actually download this, and it comes in a documentary evidence type. It's not, of course, internet is where the website is the channel that you use, the platform that you use to find the report. But the report, it's a report. So you go to cite as a report. Please don't cite as a website. Okay. So how to do that? All right. Let's go back to my Word document. Okay. All right. Let's say I'm paraphrasing something from the report. Okay, and I need to cite the annual report. So how do I do the annual report? The report citation. Okay. The steps are similar. First, insert citation. Then add new source. This is a new source altogether. The box will pop up. All right. Then what is this? This is the report. Can you see report here? I click report. What next do I click? Show all bibliography fields. So what do I type? Okay. Now things becomes interesting. We are looking at the annual report of a company, Air Asia Group Berhad. Do we key in Tony Fernandez's name here under author? No. He surely didn't write the entire report. He couldn't be sitting down, over a couple of weeks to write the 299 pages. It's a collective effort of the company. So you don't click anything under human author. Can you see a corporate author here? Just click this. Once you click this, the human author name will be blanked out. What about secondary referencing? I do not understand your question, what do you mean by secondary referencing? Because we are doing secondary information referencing now. Yeah, because all this is secondary information. Yeah? Okay. How do you key in the author's name, corporate author? Who's the corporate author? The company name. Air Asia Group Berhad. All right, okay. The title of it is Annual Report 2020. Okay, that's what the name of the report that we saw just now. All right. When do you think the annual report, assuming that their calendar year is year ending 31st December 2020, when do you think this report will be produced? It cannot be produced in 2020, right? Yeah, because how can it be produced in 2020 when 2020 is not over yet? So it has to be produced the following year. All right. What else do you need to key in? Let's look now. Oops, sorry. So I've got something else here that is. All right. Publisher. Who is the publisher? Is it a book publisher? No, it's not a book publisher. All right. Okay. Yeah. It's the company that itself has published it. Okay. So Air Asia Group Berhad. City. All right. Okay. This is where the company based in. Yeah. So you're going to look for the information. So I believe they are based in Japan. All right. Okay. Yeah. Where the head office is. Is there any other fields? No. See, you notice that the fields for this is a bit different from the book. The book has addition. This one you don't need any addition. All right. Okay. Yeah. So you're going to click OK now. I'm going to click OK and see Air Asia Group Berhad 2021. I'm going to go down to the reference list now, and I'm going to click Update Citation and Bibliography. Where do you think it would appear? Let's see. There you are. Air Asia Group. Why is the first? Because A, and then followed by I. This A followed by N. So it's automatically arranged alphabetically for you. Air Asia Group Berhad 2021, Annual Report 2020, Sepang Air Asia Group Berhad. So that's how a report citation and the report reference look like. Let's go on to a website reference. All right, okay, yeah. But before I go on to that, can I seek clarification from Lee Wenli? What do you mean by how about secondary referencing? What secondary referencing are you referring to? Can you unmute yourself so that it will be much clearer to understand your question? Wenli, are
Hi,
you there?
doctor.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. What do you mean by secondary referencing?
No, I just want to check with you if let's say I want to take the code, the reference from the code in someone else, means the author take the person quoted and write into their report. This so-called
Oh,
secondary.
okay. Okay. Then you have to go back to the original source. You don't cite the person who cited some. Let's say A cited B. Let's say A cited B. Of course, if the report is a good report, that B that A cited, the details of the citation and referencing will be in his report. So you
But
have to go
we
back to
just
the original source. You're going to go back to the original source. Means B, the B original report. Cite that. Don't cite A. Because cite A, cite B, you cannot cite A for what B has said. You go back to the original source. In other words, you will go and look for the details of the source B, the author B. All right, okay, that's why I say journal referencing will facilitate that. In other reports which are not done on a journal style, you may not able to find the details of the original source. All right, but you will be clearer tomorrow when I show you the journal article.
okay. Thanks.
All right, welcome. Adeline asked this question. What about an article taken from a website, for example, write up in Drops? Okay, I am going to show you that one right now. Okay, I'm going to show you that right now. Okay, what about the article that is appear in the website but not appear in any documentary form? Okay, let's go back to the AirAsia one. Okay, I'm going to go under investor relations. Okay, all right. Let's say you see news release here. Can you see news release here? All right. Okay, press releases. Click press releases. And these are all the information about what's going on. Right, these are the press releases by Asia. Let me just look at some of them. All right, okay, yeah. So these are news releases. All right, okay, let's just see all news here. All right, okay. All right, okay, yeah. So you have in Chinese, in Malay, in English, and so on and so forth. All right, okay, yeah. Let's say there's this one here, the flight seats. These are all the current developments. All right, okay, yeah. Let's say this is the interesting one. Okay, AirAsia announces key initiatives to support Langkawi travel bubble. Right, so it looks like everybody now going to Langkawi now. All right, okay, so this is an article. Let's say, for example, there's something from here. This is an example, yeah, of the article published no. Do not put it in AAGB, yeah, as short form in your citation and referencing. All right, okay, that's not right, yeah, because you don't expect the author to know what AAGB stands for. All right, okay, yeah, put it as a whole, yeah, put it as a whole. All right, okay, in your citation, and the corporate author has been included, yeah. All right. Now, this is an example of an article, a write-up taken from a website. And it is not a downloadable PDF format, yeah? So you need to cite this. You may have certain information from this article that you may want to include in your report, because these are all facts and figures information. So how do you cite this? So this is part and parcel of website references. Let's get back to the Word document that I have just now. All right, okay, and let's say I'm paraphrasing something from the article, any article. All right, okay, and I need to cite it. How do I cite it? Okay, this time around, I'm going to show you an example of website referencing. So what's the step? Insert citation at new source, a box will pop up. And then what you do here is select your type of source. This is what? This is web oh, sorry, not report, yeah, website. So put website. Click show all bibliography fields. Now you see the fields are a bit different. So we were looking at article just now published in the Air Asia Group Berhad website, yeah? So click corporate order. So Air Asia Group Berhad. All right. Name of the web page will be the title of the article, whatever you see on top of the article. All right. So let's just go back there now. This one. Okay. All right. Can you say Air Asia announces key initiatives to support Langkawi travel bubble? If there's any time that you can copy and paste without paraphrasing, it is now. This one you can do. All right. Okay. Yeah. So you're going to copy it because you cannot change the name of a book, a name of an article, things like that. Don't go and paraphrase that. Yeah. Does make sense. Yeah. Okay. Let's go back to the Word document just now. Okay, where I need to key in the name of the web page. I simply paste it here. Air Asia announces key initiative to support Langkawi travel bubble. Okay. When is this article published? In 2021. Just now. Right? Okay. And then you go further down. Can you see here, interestingly, year access, month access, day access? When do we access this? Now. Exactly now. So today is what? Today is the 18th of September 2021. This is the day that I access it. So you just type in accordingly. 2021. And now is the month of September. What date is today? The 18th of September. This one, URL. What does URL means? The web link. So what do? Go back to the web link just now and highlight the website address on top. And this is the time you can copy and paste. All right? We go back to the Word document and we paste it here. That is URL. Okay? So all the required fields are filled, yeah? The URL, the year access, month access, the name of the web page, right here. Okay. Now we're going to click OK. Can you see here? Air Asia Group Berhad 2021. Of course, you have another Air Asia Group Berhad 21, but this one may be referring to a different references. So let's click here and we update it and see what happens. Click. Air Asia Group Berhad 2021, Air Asia announces blah, 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 available at blah, 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 access 18 September 2021. Should I type these details manually here? No. It is automatically generated by the Microsoft Word. Right? So that's how you generate your citation and referencing using the Microsoft Word software. Of course, you've got many more you can explore on your own from now onwards. So you get, let's say I type another thing here, right? So I've done what? I've done book, I've done report, example of report, example of websites. Let me just do one more before we call it a day. Okay, add new source. Let's say this time around, see, what about newspaper? Yeah, newspapers. Yeah. Okay. It depends on whether you read a physical paper, a physical magazine, or a news portal. If you are generating from the news portal, say Star Online or Mail Online, you cite that as a website reference because it's from the website or the newspaper website. But what if you have gathered this from a physical publication? Right? A physical publication. How do you do it? don't worry about book section. Yeah, I don't encourage you to do a book section. Just a book itself will do. It's okay. Don't worry about that. All right. So come back to book section website here. Article in the periodical. So if you have obtained something from a magazine or from a newspaper, a physical newspaper, you would need to use type of source as article in the periodical. Then click show all bibliographic reviews and type in accordingly. Let's say, for example, I am now holding a Star newspaper and I turn to the business section. There is an article written by a journalist, a business journalist. And I notice that there are very good information that I can extract from that to put into my report. So how do I cite it? First, I choose article in periodical. Periodical means what? Magazines and newspapers are periodical. So let's say there is a human author there. All right. Okay. Let's say it's I use our principal's name. Yeah. I'm just doing it for Baldev Singh. Everybody knows who Baldev Singh is. Yeah. It's our principal. Yeah. Our WIC principal. All right. I'm just doing this for illustration purpose. Let's say the title of the article is the future of postgraduate, let's say the article, future of postgraduate courses in Malaysia. Let's say somebody has written this article. The periodical title, let's say, is Star. Okay, the newspaper. The year, month, day of the publication. Let's say this article was found in a couple of days ago. All right. Okay, in the Star, dated a couple of days ago. Let's say 2021, and let's say it was published yesterday. Yeah, we are in the month of September. Let's say yesterday is the 17th of September. What about pages? Here refer to the page number. Which page number is the Star that you found this article? Let's say it's page number 35. Right? So these are the details required for articles in a periodical. And you click OK and let's see what happened. Sing 2021. The surname, yeah? All right, okay. And then you would click here, update citation and bibliography. And there you have Sing B 2021, Future of Postgraduate Courses in Malaysia, The Star, 17th September, page number 35. That's how you generate the references for article in a periodical. Let's look at another question now. How do cite companies surveying data? Which type of source should you use? If there is a company surveying data that is incorporated in the report, you cite it as the report. Means you use the source as the report. You do the citation and referencing using the report as the source. All right. Okay. All right. So with that, I have covered the Harvard referencing by showing you hands-on examples. Now, let me tell you this. Yeah, I don't think any lecturers anywhere, any professor anywhere will do what I do. Because I was a student before, right? None of my professors, when I was studying my master's and especially doing my PhD, they say, you go and figure yourself. Because I was telling myself, you know, the old ways of doing it. The old ways of doing it is that they have to have some kind of a referencing card, right down there, and then stack it up, and then you type, manually the citation, and then at the end of the day, based on those referencing that you have, you arrange it, and then start typing, the list of references, physically. Imagine I have 1,000 references, I will type 1,000 times, It doesn't work that way. So I told myself, if I become a lecturer one day, which I am right now, this is my retirement career, I will teach my students how to do it, because I am not your typical academicians. I come from multinational companies where we work things based on some SOP, some template, because why? Because we want to be efficient, we want to be effective. That's why I'm showing you this. All right, okay, yeah. So it's a skill, right? Okay, yeah. So for those of you who are seeing this for the first time, go and practice this. You have to do three things to know how to do this well. You know what the three things are? Practice, practice, practice. So that is the three things that you need to work on. All right, okay, yeah. No, you don't need to be worried about the manage the sources, right? Okay, yeah, because when you manage the sources, it will bring you to all these very complex things that you may want to do. But I don't encourage you to venture into it. But if you are interested, you can explore it on your own. But we hardly use the managed sources. Okay, right. Any other questions? Yes, like I said just now, I'm the only one in the whole SLC group, right? Do what I did. And it's not obligatory. It's not obligatory for any lecturers to do this. If you go and talk to the university says, no, 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 no. Right? Okay, Dr. Kui is going out of his way to do this for students. Right? If you study in university, no university will do this. All right, okay, yeah, okay, yeah. When my kids were studying, right, okay, because this is the university culture. You are a student, you know, you are supposed to go and explore, you know, grope in the dark, uh, uh, get knocked here, knocked right, left, center, you know. That's what happened to me before until I find the way, because I will never give up. All right, you will find the way. Okay, so now you know the way. So you need to practice the way. Don't just know the way, you know. You have to go and do it. Just like Nike say, just do it. All right, okay, yeah. So you go back, we still have time for the remaining part of the day. All right, go and explore this, practice this. I'll show you more examples tomorrow, and I will show you the most important part of academic work, journal referencing, first thing in the morning tomorrow at 9 a.m. So make sure you have a good sleep tonight. All right, okay, yeah. If you are like me, you know, Premier League fan, if it's late night games, please don't watch. You watch the earlier ones, right? But don't watch the later ones, okay? Right? Come back here fresh, because we are in for another very heavy day, right? Yeah, another very heavy day. All right. Okay. That's another interesting question asked here by Jacob, I think. Shouldn't this be the first module we learn instead of the last? For your information, yeah, what do you call research methodology will always the last. Yeah, just before it moves. Yeah? In other campuses, yeah, they structured it very strictly. Yeah, research methodology is last. Here in WIC, it's a bit more flexible depending on what that you have done. Yeah. Okay. So any other further questions? I've already completed what I need to cover for today. So those of you who have some urgent appointments you need to leave, please do so. No issues. For those of you who are still around, there's still 100 over students around. Not bad, yeah? Huh? Everybody said, yes.
Dr. Queen? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. This is Daniel, yeah, doctor.
Yes,
I wanted to ask, doctor, when do you choose to use references and when do you choose to use the bibliography?
Good question. For the purpose of your MBA, choose references. Okay. Now, let me explain what's the difference between. A lot of people ask me who I support. Okay, I'll tell you at the end of it all. Yeah, because the one is nothing to do with our RM. Okay, I'll also tell you the answer afterwards. Okay. Now let's say coming back to Daniel's question. Yeah, the difference between bibliography and references. Yeah, see, bibliography references is a subset of bibliography, because in bibliography you not only include those that you have used in your report, but you also include those that you have not cited in your report. So it includes both that you are cited, those citations, and those that you're not cited, that you have read somewhere before, somewhere else, but you have not used anything from those. So that's what bibliography is, right? But for the purpose of your assignment work and your project work, please use references. References will consist of what? All those that you are cited within your report. All right, Daniel? Yes, in terms of the citation, the year will be indicated because the structure of a citation would have the source and the year, and it will be, what they call that, as you can see from here, yeah, Quarter 2019, Kevin Auto 2020. Of course, the year must be there. There are cases in the past, probably that's what Najib is referring to, right? In the past, I noticed that there are some references, they put the year there, and then anon, A-N-O-N, not accepted, okay? You, okay, the year there, the anon, and then the year. Anon is anonymous, right? But the year must be there, yeah? All citation and referencing must have a timeline to it. Now, since Najib asked this question, I would like now to share with you the timeline of the information. If it is a conceptual fact, theoretical assertion, there's no limit as to how long back it goes to. But for practical information, practical facts and figures, like for example, you are looking at annual report of the company, it cannot be more than 5 years long. 5 years ago, if you want to any particular information within the last 5 years. Because anything more than 5 years ago would be considered obsolete. It's not relevant, to the current time. But for theoretical, conceptual explanation, some past studies that certain things you may want to refer to, these are all theoretical related ones. Yes, no timeline limit. But even then, I would, encourage you to look at probably maximum 10 years ago. But for practical information, practical data, facts and figures must be within the last 5 years. Yes, Tancho asked this question. I've seen information online that I want to use, but there's no date. I see only a year next to the copyright at the bottom. That's okay, because for website references, right, okay, the year at the bottom would be the year of the website that you are referring to. So you use that particular date, all right? Any other questions? I'm just expand this a bit. All right, okay. Any other questions before we bid goodbye, and before I tell some EPL fan here who is my favorite? All right, okay. In website references with no author name, no. Any website, okay, there would be an originator. Who? You see, references, there are only two types: human author or corporate author. Right? Okay. Yeah. Right. Okay. If you do not know who actually generate that website, then that's not a reliable website. All right. Okay. It has to have the author name, but the author could be a human author. It could be an organization. It could be a company. It could be a corporation that publish that particular information. Any other RM related question? No. Good question. Wikipedia. All right. Wikipedia, please. I know a lot of people, when I do research, I also refer to Wikipedia, but I will never cite Wikipedia as my reference. And not all good universities in the world would not accept Wikipedia as a reference, because Wikipedia is an open encyclopedia. People could do that. But you can start doing your research using the wiki. But you go back to the original source, because in wiki, they also would have cited where they get this information from. Go back to the original source. But please don't cite Wikipedia as your source of information. Any other questions? Let me just see now. Okay, the time is 4:30, so we have an extended half an hour, but I think it's all worthwhile. Yeah. Okay, so before we say goodbye, if you have any more questions tomorrow, probably we still have time, right, to go through. For those EPL fans who are so curious to know, me as a fan of which team, since very young, my team that I've been following all this while are the Red Devils. Right, okay, Manchester United. I know there are quite a lot of Liverpool fans here as well. No, not Liverpool. Right, okay, yeah. So we we are the opposite thing, yeah. So when I went to London, a couple of years ago, I of course visited Old Trafford. Yeah, the time that I have chance to, I'll go and visit there. Okay. Anyway, that's business the matter. That's not important. Yeah, RM is more important. All right. Okay. Best in the world. All right. Okay. Not necessarily so. Yeah. All right. Okay. Best today. Best another day. A different people to the best. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, any other further questions related to RM? If not, it's 4:30 now. So goodbye, everyone, and have a good evening. And please explore what they call how to use the Microsoft Word. All right, okay, and come back here at 9 a.m. tomorrow. We will focus on journal referencing before moving into the technicalities of research design, which is going to be, in a way, heavier and more technical, where you need to be even more focused than today. All right, everyone. All right.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye bye. Okay. Have
Thank
a
you,
good
doctor.
evening. I'll see some of
Thank you,
you.
doctor.
Thank you.
Thank you,
First
Thank
thing
you,
tomorrow.
doctor.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you,
you.
doctor.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Thank you.
Bye bye.
Thank you, doctor. Bye bye.
Welcome. See everyone again. See everyone at 9 tomorrow.